This is Radio Free Hillsdale, 101.7 FM. I'm Scott Bertram, and with me today is State Senator Mike Shirkey. Senator, how are you doing?
Scott, I'm doing great on this bright and chilly Monday morning, but spring is in the air. Just have no fear.
It's coming soon. You just have to wait and be patient. We got that early blast of spring. What, was it in February? We were in the 70s,
yeah.
So we're paying for it a bit right now, I suppose.
Yeah. I put my dock in yesterday, and I think my feet are still purple.
Yeah, well, warm them up. You'll be fine. A couple things wanted to hit during our conversation today, Senator. I know you had an event in Coldwater last week, and topic of conversation was pensions, teacher pensions. And I got to say, I see in a story I'm looking at that the Michigan Public School Employees Retirement System is about $26 billion underfunded, to which I say, you guys are pikers here. I'm from Illinois. We're $130 billion underfunded. So what's the big deal here in Michigan?
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing, Scott, was that the meeting, the town hall, was supposed to be on the topic of Michigan's budget. It's kind of a Budget 101 meeting to help people understand Michigan's budget, how we budget, how much money is restricted versus how much is actually discretionary, how much comes from the federal government, et cetera. And that was the purpose of the meeting. But we were joined by 70 or 80 either retired or currently teaching as educators who had heard rumors that we were contemplating doing some more work on MPSERS reform to reduce that unfunded liability that you just identified. And so they showed up, and it probably took 45 or 50% of the conversation that evening. But it was good. I mean, I started it by saying, I know that some of you are here to talk about MPSERS reform, but I'm really not familiar with what the details being worked on right now, and so I can tell you, full transparency, I'm supportive of reducing long-term liabilities. And I can also tell you with 100% confidence that if you're currently a teacher or a currently retired educator, your pension is very well protected because our Constitution requires such. So that's kind of the foundation right now. Now, I think we're having an off-site caucus tomorrow in the Senate to talk about some of the details, at which time I'll make them very public when we're allowed to do so, and put them on Facebook, on our website, and so forth, so that we're not hiding anything. But I'm a full supporter of reducing our taxpayers' unfunded liabilities long term. And the real important point about this is that as increases in the pension cost go up, our student population continues to decline, and so a greater and greater percentage of the classroom expenditure is absorbed by pensions. In other words, they really don't reach the students. So it's something that deserves attention, and but I understand the angst that it represents, and so we just got to work through it.
I joked a bit, but $26 billion is certainly nothing to sneeze at in terms of underfunding in that system. Now, in Illinois, they're having big problems doing any kind of reform because of some constitutional limits that are on what they can do, even for future benefits. What exactly does the Michigan Constitution say about adjusting, changing future benefits for teachers?
Pensions for state employees and teachers and educators are considered such, are protected by our Constitution and cannot be changed. We can change the programs for new people coming in, but we cannot change them for those who are currently working, vested, or retired. We can make changes in things like health care, but pensions themselves are very robustly protected by our Constitution.
So would you say this is going to be a difficult climb to get to a point where everyone can agree to changes that will make sense and also make a actual difference in the big number?
The balance that we have to find is assuring those that are currently educators or retired that they have no exposure, while also meeting the requirement to provide competitive wage and benefit packages to be able to recruit new teachers in the future. And that's the balance. And I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm not saying it's impossible either. And it's something that, the tough stuff is worth doing, especially when it has such long-term implications like we're talking.
Senator Mike Shirkey is with us from, the 16th State Senate District, Branch, Hillsdale, Jackson counties. Find him online, senatormikeshirkey.com. Also on Facebook as well. I'm Scott Bertram with you on Radio Free Hillsdale 101.7 FM. As we are discussing this, Senator, we're finding out that the president is about to make appointments to the federal bench, and it certainly appears as if a Michigan judge will get the call, and that is Joan Larson. What can you tell us about the kind of Justice Joan Larson might be?
Well, I've had the pleasure of visiting with, having dinner with, and enjoying the company of Joan Larson and her husband a number of times over the past couple of years. And she's an outstanding judge, outstanding United States citizen, outstanding scholar. She worked under Supreme Court Justice Anton Scalia and was highly regarded by him. And, of course, you know what esteem I hold him in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's an awesome affirmation of Joan's experience and her commitment to the rule of law. It's a wonderful nod to Michigan, and I hope that becomes a confirmed appointment sooner rather than later.
Senator Mike Shirkey with us. It's Radio Free Hillsdale 101.7 FM. And I talked to you briefly off the air, and you were not aware of this, and I bet a majority of our listeners are unaware. There is currently a law, a little-known Michigan law, as it says in the story, that makes it illegal to warm up a car in a driveway. So it's, it's 5 above zero, wind chills 10 below. You get up, you start your car, you head back inside, you grab your coffee, you put on your shoes. That act right there is technically illegal. You can be fined more than $100 for doing that. It's illegal to warm up your car in a driveway in Michigan. Now, the Michigan House has passed a bill that would repeal that portion of the law. It's heading to the Senate. You weren't even aware this was illegal, though.
I got two things to say about this. Number one, I have broken the law a number of times over the last few years. And number two, this law is Exhibit A for why we need a part-time legislature. And
it's one of those things that people do all the time. And as I said, unless a police officer is driving by and issues you a ticket, you would have no idea that you were breaking the law. I guess the argument is that someone could just walk up and steal the car. So it might help with auto insurance premiums by making cars less stolen. I don't know.
Think about how ridiculous it is. For instance, right now, most cars that you buy within the last 2 or 3 years have remote starters.
Right.
And so, that's a ridiculous notion in and of itself. But when does it become a criminal act to start your own asset, to start your own vehicle? When the actual crime is when somebody tries to steal it. That's what we should be focusing on, for heaven's sakes. So I'm embarrassed, a little bit embarrassed, to say that I wasn't aware of it, but can't wait to vote for it.
Senator Mike Shirkey with us from Branch, Hillsdale, Jackson counties. It's the 16th State Senate District. SenatorMikeShirkey.com is the website. And, Senator, we thank you for the time, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you, Scott. Bye-bye.